Good afternoon, everyone. So glad you are here. Please find a seat. We are about to get started with our keynote address speaker. That means you have to stop dancing in the aisles. Get in your seat. Welcome, everyone. My name is Erin Harris. I am the Chief Program Officer of the Barbershop Harmony Society, and I have the distinct privilege of introducing our third and final keynote address speaker of this wild 2021 virtual midwinter convention, Blair Brown. This is where you clap and you do all the things and cheer. Awesome, you guys look great. Blair Brown, if you read her bio on our website, is an amazingly accomplished individual. She studied under the tutelage of Dr. Jim Henry. She has a music degree. She's a certified yoga instructor. She's a lead of the Bing World Mixed Quartet Champion Quartet, Double Date. She also brought into the world with her husband Ravi a beautiful baby girl in September of 2020. Yes, I said September 2020. Blair is also the first woman board member of the Society Board of Directors. And I'll be real, those are all amazing accolades, and she should be very proud, and we are very proud that she is a part of this barbershop community. But what I want to say about Blair Brown before she gives her keynote is she has the most amazing ability of any barbershopper I know, and that's saying a lot because barbershoppers are very giving, and I've met a lot of them, but she has the most amazing ability to connect people at the heart, mind, and soul level. I have no doubt that you're going to feel like you are a part of this big, giant barbershop family. She is going to make you laugh. She is going to make you cry. And that is because Blair Brown is an amazingly genuine person who wants nothing more than for the Barbershop Harmony Society and all of us in this community to be together. I'm so excited for you all to hear to Blair, so I will stop talking. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, our keynote speaker, Blair Brown.
Hello, Barbershop family. My name is Blair Brown, and I am so proud to be a member of the Barbershop Harmony Society. For those who don't know me, I serve on the Barbershop Harmony Society Board of Directors, and I also sing lead in a mixed quartet called Double Date. I became a member of the Barbershop Harmony Society the very first day it was possible for women to join. And I love barbershop so much I can hardly stand it sometimes. This is a keynote address, and normally a keynote would be kind of formal, and in a virtual world, I think your avatar is watching this in a fancy auditorium, but your actual human body is probably watching this from the comfort of your home, and I'm filming this now here in my home, and I was hoping that today we could just sort of lean back and relax and chat. I have to begin by acknowledging that, of course, we've all been through so much this year. If you're anything like me, you have felt at times rudderless or lost, trying to make sense of the tremendous loss we're all collectively experiencing. People have lost their jobs, we've lost opportunities and the chance to have special experiences, and worst of all, we've lost friends and family to a global pandemic which has completely transformed our world. And so today I want to talk about us, about our barbershop community, this big barbershop family, and why it's so important for us to stick together, maybe now more than ever before. I also want to talk about how we might attempt to navigate the big changes that we face together. Barbershoppers are passionate people. This musical style, the heartfelt ballads that we sing, we're forced to confront our feelings a lot as barbershoppers. And that also means that we can't help but bring all of that emotional baggage right along with us to rehearsals, to conventions, and even into the online spaces where barbershoppers interact. Barbershop is a heart space. When we sing together, we dig deep and we have to show one another our hearts. Whoever we are, whatever we're carrying around inside, we bring it onto the risers with us. We bring it onto the convention stage with us. We don't suddenly become different people just because it's time to sing. So today, let's have a heart-to-heart. Like many of you, my journey as a barbershopper has changed my life. And through my involvement with the barbershop community and with this unique style of music, I have learned to embrace my unique self and to lean in to who I really am. And today, my hope, my fervent wish, is that we might all work together to make this barbershop community a place where people from all backgrounds, from all walks of life, can really come and join us and share in what we've all gotten to experience. As we create space for new people to engage with us in new ways, we might actually revolutionize the world. Before I really get going, I want to offer a brief disclaimer that I'm going to talk about some potentially heavy stuff, specifically the topic of mental health. And I wanted to give everyone a heads up because I know that that can be a difficult or uncomfortable topic for some people. And so if you want to stop watching, I won't be offended. I won't even know. So feel free to move on with your life and don't listen. But I promise it's for a good reason that we're going to talk about this, but I just wanted to let everyone know. I wanted to share today with you a little bit about how I came to love the Barbershop Harmony Society and how my journey in the barbershop community has empowered me to become who I really am. I think if you didn't know me very well, from the outside, I probably look pretty confident. I'm outgoing, I perform and sing a lot in front of people, so you might think, now there goes one self-assured young lady. But there was a time in my life when being comfortable with who I am on any level felt impossible. It did not seem like something that I would ever feel in my lifetime. For most of my young life, I felt lost and alone and scared. As early as I can remember, I felt different, other, less than. I felt like an outsider. Maybe I'd been born at the wrong time or in the wrong place or into the wrong family. I just felt awkward. And during my adolescence, on the outside at least, everything probably looked fine. As a young person, I did well academically. I was a Girl Scout. I loved to sing and I was in the school musical. I had friends. I sang in the church choir. But on the inside, I was in nearly constant turmoil. I was born with what felt like a very thin veil between my inner emotions and the rest of the world. I seemed to feel everything so deeply. I had overwhelming anxiety and I worried constantly. When the people around me became upset, I felt that almost as intensely as if it were happening to me. And it seemed like the people around me were upset a lot. And that was overwhelming. I know now that there's a term for people who are intensely affected by other people's emotions. They're called empaths. But at the time when I was a child, I just reasoned that I was a broken, overly emotional mess. I grew up in the Midwest and in an environment where my level of emotional sensitivity was not the norm and it wasn't really encouraged. And during my adolescence, I spent a lot of time and energy just kind of hating myself for being myself, for feeling all of these strong emotions all the time, for feeling really vulnerable and different from everybody. I did not have a community where I felt a sense of belonging or where I felt that it was okay to truly be myself. I became determined to try to sand down the rough edges of my personality, to make myself smaller, so that who I was wouldn't bother anyone around me too much. I was certain that my extreme sensitivity, my emotional openness was probably the worst thing about me. And I knew that it was something I would need to change if I was ever going to feel normal or fit in. The first time I was officially diagnosed with anything, I was in middle school. On paper, again, it looked like I was doing well. I was in the gifted program at my school and I sang in the choir, but something was clearly not right. I was experiencing debilitating panic attacks and had developed inexplicable stomach ulcers at 12. I had started self-harming, and it had become obvious to everyone around me that I was dealing with a level of anxiety that was not really normal for a person my age. At 12 years old, I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder and depression, and I was put on a regimen of medications intended to fix those issues. But unfortunately, rather than helping, the medications somehow managed to make me feel worse. One of my clearest memories from that time was like running to the bathroom in between my middle school class periods so that I could be sick, because the medication made me feel nauseous all the time. On the one hand, I remember that having an official diagnosis was kind of comforting because it helped explain why I had felt so different and weird all the time. But then on the other hand, having this official diagnosis written down by a doctor on a medical chart had confirmed my deepest fear, that I really was not normal. I really was not like other people. Something inside me really was broken, and I would probably need to spend the rest of my life trying to fix that. And this began a long period of hopelessness throughout middle school and high school in which I did not think I would emerge. If you have ever been treated for a mental health condition, then you already know it's very common to have to experiment with different medications or cocktails of medications, combinations of medications before finding that right balance for you, because every individual is, of course, different. And many people never find that balance, and I was one of those people. Throughout middle school and high school, I was probably put on and taken off of at least a dozen different medications or combinations, always trying to find that right balance where the benefits of the medication outweighed the negative side effects of the medication, and I never could find that balance. Somehow I made my way through high school, and I attempted to cope with all this anxiety and depression in probably every harmful way you can imagine. I developed an eating disorder and became dangerously thin. I took up smoking cigarettes and smoked for a long time, which I had convinced myself at the time was like calming anxiety, which I now know is absurd. If anything, nicotine increases anxiety. I drank alcohol long before I was legally supposed to. And probably most damaging of all, I experienced toxic relationships with people who treated me badly because I believed that that was the kind of treatment that I deserved. As you can probably imagine, rather than making anything better, all of these coping mechanisms were making my life so much worse. And I got accepted into a great private college, but I was experiencing so much turmoil at that time, I could barely get through the day and take care of myself, let alone, live independently, pursue a college degree, all the things that go along with that. Things reached a particularly dangerous climax when I was about 20. I was put on a new cocktail of medications, which had caused me to feel suicidal. And my parents were out of town and I didn't know what to do. And so for a week, I was consumed with the idea that I needed to end my life, that the world would be better if I was not in it. And all I can say now is I'm so grateful that I made it out the other side in one piece so I could be here talking with you today. After a few semesters of fumbling around at this private college, I began to refocus my attention on one of my first loves, which had been music. Singing was this one constant thing that brought me joy in my life. And so I left the private school and I started taking music courses at a local, less expensive junior college. I was assigned, luckily, a fabulous voice instructor who was incredibly supportive, both of my development as a singer, but also of me as a person. Eventually, my voice teacher encouraged me to apply to study music at the University of Missouri in St. Louis, UMSL, or UMSL, as the locals call it, and I will hereby refer to it as UMSL. My voice teacher suggested that I transfer to UMSL, and I remember she said, "There's a choir director there who I think you will really connect with." And that's why she wanted me to go. And that person turned out to be none other than Dr. Jim Henry. If you've been around barbershop for a long time, of course you know that name. Jim Henry is well known in our world, both as the co-director of the Ambassadors of Harmony Chorus and as the bass of beloved BHS champion quartets, the Gas House Gang and Crossroads. At the time, though, I had never heard of barbershop. I was excited to work with this great choral director, and I knew I would learn a lot, but his barbershop accomplishments, I was like, okay, he was in a quartet of old-fashioned music, like, all right. Okay, I'm excited to go to college, though, you know. So I applied to be in Dr. Henry's choral music program as a vocal performance major, and I auditioned and I got accepted, and mercifully I was granted some scholarships to make it possible for me to pay my way to go there, and I had no idea how much my life would change. As I was waiting for my first semester at UMSL to begin, my voice teacher offered me another suggestion. She told me that in addition to running the choral music program at the university, Dr. Henry also directed this large local all-male chorus called the Ambassadors of Harmony. And my teacher said they have a show coming up, and she said you should get yourself a ticket and go just to get a glimpse of like this guy you're going to be working with at college. And she said, you don't worry, if you don't like it, you can just leave at intermission. And so, spoiler alert, I did like it, and I did not leave at intermission. So I went alone to see the Ambassadors of Harmony perform, and I had zero expectations. At that time, I had barely heard of barbershop, and I think the connotations I had were that it was like an outdated style of music, it was irrelevant in modern music, and it was sung by a bunch of nerds. And to be fair, even now that I am really involved in barbershop, I can confirm that we are all a bunch of nerds, but I would hardly say this music is irrelevant. And from the moment that the ambassadors walked on stage and I heard the first chords, that was it. It was over for me. I was hooked. I was completely obsessed with the sound that I heard, the feeling that it gave me. I instantly was in love with barbershop. Just love at first sound. In the first 5 seconds, I knew that whatever these guys were doing, I wanted and needed to do that. I remember looking around at the people sitting on either side of me, and they looked so calm. And I remember thinking, are you hearing this? How are you not freaking out right now? I wanted to shake the little old lady sitting next to me and be like, are you hearing this? But they were all so calm, I don't know. So I looked through the show program and I saw the Barbershop Harmony Society logo, and I thought, oh my gosh, there's a whole organization for this. This is incredible. I will absolutely join. I can't wait. I'm going to become a member today. The guest quartets that night were Crossroads and Vocal Spectrum. So of course, that was my first impression of barbershop quartet singing, and I just was like floored. And as I listened to those quartets, I was particularly drawn to the lead part. I remember thinking that Mike Slamka had the most honest and sincere storytelling voice that I had ever heard from a singer. And I knew that I wanted to do what they did. I wanted to sing lead in a barbershop quartet. I had a plan. It was simple. I would join the Barbershop Harmony Society, and then I would join a great chorus like the Ambassadors of Harmony. I would find a quartet, probably with Mike Slamka, and I would sing this music for the rest of my life, and that would be it. And I had this whole timeline mapped out in my head before the show had even reached intermission, and I never considered for a single second that I would not be able to sing alongside these guys because of something about my gender. It never crossed my mind that this incredible music would be siloed into separate organizations based on whether a singer identified as male or female. That was like baffling to me. And I think that's an important thing for us all to stop sometimes and really think about. Because when a life-changing musical experience happens to someone, It doesn't matter who you are or where you came from. It doesn't matter what you look like, and it certainly doesn't matter what your race or gender or sexual orientation is. When a powerful music experience finds you, only one thing matters: how it makes you feel here in your heart. And when new people, particularly young people, discover barbershop music for the first time, like I did that day at the Ambassadors show, gender isn't the first thing probably on their minds either. A young person who discovers barbershop might be drawn to the sound of the ringing chords, or maybe they saw a YouTube video of ringmasters. They're excited about learning tags, but they probably don't care that much the gender of the person teaching the tags, right? That's something that we put on them, right? And personally, I never felt particularly called to sing barbershop with either men or women. That wasn't really on my radar. I just wanted to sing barbershop. And I knew exactly where I wanted to do it, in the Barbershop Harmony Society. The culture and the values of this organization just resonated with me instantly. I was totally oblivious to the fact that joining wouldn't be possible for me at that time because of my gender. So I continued my music studies at UMSL, and I soon discovered that my voice teacher had been exactly right. From the very first day, I loved everything about studying under Jim Henry. I was impressed, of course, with his wealth of musical knowledge, but also his kindness, his compassion, and the genuine curiosity he had for each of his students. He taught me how to sing from my heart, and he lit a spark somewhere inside where things had been dark and dim for a long time. He became one of the first really positive adult male role models in my life, and his influence allowed me to consider the possibility that my existence on earth could have some bigger purpose. I found myself surrounded by other barbershoppers as students at the university. I learned that young barbershoppers of every gender had traveled from across the United States and even around the world to study with Jim Henry. During my time at UMSL, I studied alongside young barbershoppers who had come from Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, Minnesota, Virginia, California, Canada, and even as far away as Finland and Japan. And they had all come just to learn about barbershop from barbershop's very best. There was one barbershopper in particular with whom I hit it off immediately, and that was Ravi. I want to take a quick tangent to tell you a little bit about Ravi. He's a first-generation American. Both of his parents are originally from India. He was born in New Orleans, and he grew up in North Carolina. He's effusively positive and kind and enthusiastic about all things barbershop. He and I clicked right away and instantly became best friends. He taught me my first tag, and we used to hang out at his apartment and sight read through Suntones arrangements together. Ravi told me about how he'd fallen in love with barbershop and how he ended up at UMSL. He was attending law school in Minnesota, and he started singing with the Great Northern Union under the direction of Pete Benson. He had met all these incredible male role models that he looked up to, and he had cultivated this deep love of barbershop music. And even though he was in law school, he realized through his experience in the chorus that he did not want to be a lawyer, but instead he wanted to be a music educator. And so he did something incredible. He quit law school and transferred to UMSL so that he could study with Jim Henry. Today, I'm happy to report that Ravi is an awesome music educator, and he's also my husband. And I wanted to share his story because it's just another example of the profound impact that this music and this community have on people's lives. Someone not finishing law school isn't always considered a happy ending, but in Ravi's case, it's the best thing that could have happened. Ravi is one of the smartest people I know, and he would have made a great lawyer if that's what he had wanted to do. But as his wife, I have a front row seat to his life, and I get to watch him change the lives of countless young people through music every day. Ravi's students desperately need positive adult role models in their lives who care about them, and their lives are absolutely enriched because he decided not to be a lawyer. It's directly because of Ravi's involvement with the Barbershop Harmony Society that he uncovered what he was put on this planet to do. And now more than 600 students a year benefit from that. So enough about Ravi, back to my story. So I'm studying music at UMSL, and all these great young barbershoppers are coming into my life, and slowly but surely, I'm beginning to come out from under this cloud of depression that had been looming over my head really for most of my young life up to that point. I met Nathan, a kid from rural Missouri who had discovered barbershop watching YouTube videos at home and who had come to UMSL, just like everyone else, to study with Dr. Henry. We connected over our love of bluegrass music, and we sang tags together between classes. I met Michaela. She's an incredible young singer from Florida. She was a fourth-generation barbershopper. We both loved dogs and pizza and Rascal Flatts, and she became one of my best friends. The anxiety and the depression were still there, of course, and for the record, they're still there now. This is not gone away out of my life, right? But the power that those illnesses had over me began to wane as one after another, these kind and loving people began to enter my life and shine their light in my direction. I felt like someone who had been lost at sea, finally seeing a beacon, a lighthouse, and then another one, and then another one, until everything was illuminated. I began to feel like the world was a better place because I was in it and not the other way around, as I had felt before. I was forming a tribe, a community where I felt this deep sense of acceptance and belonging. I also found that barbershop music created the opportunity to be emotionally expressive in a way I had never experienced with other choral music in the past. Barbershop music made me want to be authentic and share my emotions with other people in a way that began to transform me as a person. Ravi, Nathan, Michaela, and I began to meet up after choir rehearsals and sing through barbershop charts together. We sang polecats and tags and Suntone songs and Gas House Gang songs, and we were just like any other barbershop quartet. We were just four best friends who loved each other's company and wanted to sing barbershop together. And once again, my ignorance was bliss about barbershop, because at this point in 2011, I had no awareness that mixed barbershop wasn't really popular or widespread. I had no idea that it wasn't really taken as seriously as men's or women's barbershop. I didn't consider that there would be no organization in the United States for mixed quartets to join or interact with one another or compete. And I just kind of assumed that if we as a quartet worked hard enough and tried to sing really well, that we would just eventually somehow get invited into the BHS or something. Like, I thought if we were good enough, they would just make an exception and be like, well, yeah, you guys can join. But that's not how it was in 2011. We called ourselves Double Date, and we started to perform everywhere we could. At the, people use that expression for the opening of an envelope. We sang everywhere all the time. And one day, Michaela's dad, who happens to be Mike Slamka, had a great suggestion. He told us about the German barbershop organization, which is called Bing. And every other year, Bing hosts a huge barbershop contest with lots of events, including the World Mixed Quartet Contest. So mixed quartets from anywhere in the world could submit an audition tape, and if you met the requirements, you could fly over and compete against other singers from all over the world, which sounded really cool. So we submitted a video, and sure enough, we did qualify to go. And as you can imagine, the four of us going to Germany was going to be really expensive. But with the help of, you guessed it, Jim Henry, our university agreed to help us defray our travel costs. We rehearsed constantly and got in as many coaching sessions as we could. And another mentor emerged in my life, the prolific barbershop arranger and mathematical genius, Dr. David Wright. David and his wife, Sandy, invited Double Date to their home and coached us, I don't know how many times, countless times, asking for nothing in return except maybe a six-pack for David now and again. They loved us, they encouraged us, they believed in us, they gave us the confidence that we needed to fly to a different country and sing in front of a bunch of strangers. They literally supported us every step of the way. They even were in Germany when we competed and came backstage to talk us up before our contest. It was incredible. We had no expectations going into the World Mixed Contest. We We're going to compete against Swedish, German, British, Dutch, and Canadian quartets. And our main goal, I remember talking about this a lot, that our main goal was to not embarrass the United States of America. Don't be the worst ones out there. And I also remember Michaela and I had bought 2 dresses, and we just wanted to sing well enough during the first round that we got to wear that second dress in the second round, or else we bought 2 dresses for no reason. It's so expensive, right? So we went on stage expecting nothing. We sang our hearts out, and to our great surprise, we won that contest. Not only did we win the World Mixed Contest, we also logged the highest score that had ever been achieved by any quartet or chorus, male, female, or mixed, in the history of the Bing organization. When we got back to the United States, show offers came our way, and we were fortunate to be invited to sing on barbershop shows all around the United States and eventually even around the world. We've made an album, then we made another album. We traveled to Bing a second time and won the World Mix Contest again, and set also another new high scoring record that second time. It has since been beaten, I will say. Through it all though, through all this performing and traveling, something incredible happened. A theme started to emerge and became clear that the more I could get on stage and be my authentic self, the more our performances mattered and the more impact I began to have as a singer. The more that I could stand on stage and simply tell the truth about who I really was, what I was going through, the highs, the lows, the love, the heartbreak, the more that I could embrace my unique self, the more easily people seemed to connect with me as a singer and with the message of our quartet. More and more, as my heart opened, people would come up to us after shows and say things like, "I needed that," or "I lost my spouse last year, and the last song that you guys sang made me feel like someone understood the love that we shared with one another." I mean, those kinds of comments that make you think, I'm doing something that matters to someone. Over time, I began to understand that I didn't need to be ashamed of my naturally sensitive nature. Quite the contrary. I began to see that my emotional openness, my tendency towards vulnerability, all those things had never been weaknesses. They were instead my greatest gifts, both as a person and as a performer. It became clear that I was put on this planet for the very purpose of uncovering and embracing who I am. Slowly, this concept began to trickle into every area of my life. I stopped hating myself. I began to nurture myself and care for myself. I became more loving towards the people around me, more able to appreciate them for the journey that they were on. And everything gained a deeper meaning, and life became tremendously more rewarding as I learned to accept that we are all born this way, perfectly imperfect, for a reason. And that applies to everyone watching right now. I wish I could go back and talk to my younger self just for a minute. I would tell her to hang in there. I wish I could tell her not to worry so much because things would get better. I wish she knew that she would eventually find this community where kind and hilarious and wonderful and loving people would embrace her for who she is. And I can't help but wonder how things might have been different if I had found the barbershop community sooner, earlier in my life. But of course, we can't go back in time and we can't send a message to our younger selves. But what we can do is dedicate the rest of our lives to making sure that other people know they are not alone. We can make it our mission to create spaces where people feel welcome and included. We can make sure that the young people who need us find us sooner. We can spend the rest of our lives showing everyone around us that whoever they are is exactly who they were destined to be. No matter how the rest of the world may treat people, they are always welcome here with us, with their barbershop family. Barbershop music is magical. Our harmonies and the chords really are special. And as a professional singer, I have performed all types of choral music from Renaissance polyphony to gospel to opera, and barbershop's unique sound to me really does set it apart from all the rest. But ringing chords is not really what makes this community so special. It's the friendships. It's the camaraderie. It's singing tags until 3 a.m. and eating ice cream together at Harmon University. It's being there for each other during life's hardest moments because of the bonds we've made by singing together. Here in the Barbershop Harmony Society, we can offer people a sense of belonging in a world where belonging is hard to come by. We are a living, breathing organism where congenial people of good character can come together to be part of something so much bigger than our individual selves. We live in a world which on the surface is more connected than ever. We have advances in technology where we can communicate with almost anyone, anywhere, anytime, anywhere in the world. And that technology is wonderful, but what people really need to feel whole are deep, meaningful human connections, exactly the sort of connections our community can provide. As we begin to emerge from this global pandemic, and we will emerge, with vaccines and hope on the horizon, people are yearning again, maybe more than ever, for those deep, meaningful human connections. Let's let our community be there, waiting with arms open to say, welcome. We cannot wait to sing with you. As a barbershopper, you have tremendous power to help create and strengthen communities. You have the power to build an environment where someone will come and feel safe or welcome or loved or included. Last week, I was walking with my dog and my baby. I love to walk. I'm a big walker. And I saw this woman, a neighbor who I see all the time, probably every day we see each other. And she was walking her dog and talking on her phone. And I'm always out there walking wearing like dirty sweatpants and looking like the Hot Mess Express. And this lady is super put together. She's always like hair done, makeup on, cute little matching workout outfits, the whole 9 yards. And I sort of have her on a pedestal in my mind as this ideal superwoman who has everything all together, right? And as I walked closer, I could overhear her conversation that she was having on the phone, and she was sobbing, like crying her eyes out, having a total breakdown, sobbing. And I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I could hear her saying to the person on the other end of the phone, I'm just so depressed. And I could feel all the pain in her voice, and it hit me in this profound way. We are all collectively going through it right now. There is no one who has been exempt from the pain and loss of the last year. And you may think of someone as being really tough, but inside they might be struggling a lot. And it's okay for all of us to not be okay. Now more than ever, we are the people who will create spaces where a lost or lonely person could come and find family. You and your singing community, your chorus, your chapter, your district, your quartet, you could be the reason that someone gets through their divorce or the death of a parent or the loss of a child. As a planet, we are all going through this struggle right now, this shared grief, but through our barbershop community, each one of us has the power to be the reason that someone says, yes, this is hard, but I'm not alone. Sometimes we're not just singing barbershop, sometimes we are saving people's lives. And I know that was true for me. So how will we do this? How will we strengthen barbershop communities and navigate all this huge change and make the biggest human impact possible, even in the midst of huge upheaval in our world? And I want to share a few guiding principles that help me stay focused on the kind of barbershopper and the kind of person and the kind of leader that I want to be. And I hope that they will resonate with you. The first guiding principle I like to follow is to behave as though you are becoming someone's barbershop hero. Who are your barbershop heroes? I have so many. Maybe it's a great quartet singer whose voice you love, or a chorus director who changed your life. Maybe it's the person who taught you your first tag or brought you to your first chorus rehearsal. Maybe it's your dad or your mom. How does a barbershop hero behave? What sort of energy do they add to situations? How do they treat other barbershoppers? Think back to a time in your life when you've really struggled, and maybe that time is right now. Was there a barbershopper who was there for you, who helped you? Whatever you have needed in your life when you've been struggling, I invite each of us to sincerely consider the ways we might be that sort of person for someone else. Some of you may know that I had a baby in September, my first baby, and we're so blessed because she was born healthy and beautiful and wonderful, and I love her more than I can convey. But I'll just say that being pregnant and having a baby during COVID has been at times really difficult and super scary. And I remember those first few weeks at home with a new baby feeling overwhelmed and isolated, which I think is normal for new parents, even during typical times, but it was all definitely compounded by the physical isolation of COVID, right? And I remember one particularly tough day, my baby was colicky and upset, and I was rocking her, trying to help her stop crying. And I hadn't talked to another adult in I don't know how long. I had been crying, and right then, as if on cue, my friend, a fellow barbershopper, John Dunhauer, called me on the phone just to say hi and check and see if I was doing okay. And many of you probably know John. He's the new president of the Barbershop Harmony Society, and he's someone who really cares about barbershoppers. He's the kind of guy who calls people on the phone just to talk and see how they're doing. And that simple gesture that day, him calling me right at that moment when I needed it, made a tremendous impact. To me, that makes John one of my barbershop heroes. And John wasn't the only one. Barbershop friends from literally around the world have called and emailed and messaged to wish us well or ask how we're doing. Friends have sent cards and gifts and food and knitted our baby little hats and blankets and even recorded barbershop songs for her. Another barbershop friend, Mario Iniguez, actually carved our baby a rocking chair with her name engraved on it out of wood and sent it to us. These are the type of beautiful people that barbershop can bring into your life. I mention all this to say that we are just all so lucky to be part of this community. Some people will never experience something like our barbershop family in their lifetime. I hope that's not permanent, but we're all really lucky. So we mustn't squander it. We shouldn't take for granted what we have here. We should also do whatever we can to make this community accessible and available to as many more people as possible. We don't want to hoard what we have. There is room in the barbershop family for everyone, and lots of people could use a barbershop hero in their lives right now. And so that's why we need to make sure that we aren't building walls to keep people out, but building doors to welcome them in. Historically, we've focused a lot of our attention in BHS on young men and celebrating the incredible impact that positive male role models can have on their lives through barbershop singing. And that is still absolutely vital to who we are as an organization. But as you may have heard from my story, even though I'm a female, barbershop has brought a lot of positive male role models into my life too, and they changed my world for the better. Because the fact is that young people of all genders need positive male role models. They need positive female role models. They simply need to be surrounded by kind, enthusiastic adults who care and who want the best for them. And they all need barbershop heroes that they can look up to. And now, because of Everyone in Harmony, our organization and each of us as individuals have the opportunity to be that positive force for good in the lives of more young people than ever before, regardless of our gender, regardless of their gender. Selfishly, I would like to think that Jim Henry or David Wright and I have a special relationship, and maybe we do. But the truth is that 1,000 people could probably sit here and tell you a story almost identical to mine about how Jim or David or some other barbershopper had a positive impact on their lives through their involvement with this organization. And part of that is because of who those people are. They're special, but it's also a testament to how much of an impact just one person can have on countless young lives. And I bet that everyone watching this today has their own Jim Henry or David Wright, or maybe countless barbershoppers whose positive influence set you on the path which led you to where you are today. One person who really cares can change countless lives for the better. It only takes one flame to ignite 1,000 fires. If you are listening to this right now, you might be becoming someone's barbershop hero. You might be someone's barbershop hero already, whether you know it or not. Someone could be looking up to you right now to try to discover what a great barbershopper is like. Maybe they're observing your attitude in the face of change. Maybe they're noticing the way you treat other barbershoppers in person or online. We can always check in and ask ourselves, am I behaving in a way that would make someone proud to have me as their barbershop hero? How does a barbershop hero behave in the face of great change like the ones we face in our world and within the Barbershop Harmony Society? Does a hero run away? Do they give up when things are hard? Do they spread negativity or focus on the flaws in other people? Of course not. A hero shows up, they do what needs to get done, they spread joy where they can, and they lead with love. So let's all try to behave as if we were someone's barbershop hero. The next principle I hope we can follow to create a positive impact in our community is to focus only on the best things about who we are, what we each can uniquely offer, and release worry we might have about judgment from other people. Not everyone will like everything you do. Who you are, your style, your vibe, your unique flavor that makes you you will not be for everyone. And that's just life, and that's okay. There might even be someone watching this right now who, as I'm talking, is thinking, ugh, I just don't like her. I don't like her style. I don't like what she's saying. It doesn't resonate with me. And I can respect that, and I'm okay with it, because being my authentic self is literally the only thing I could possibly offer you. So it's the best gift I have to give, and it's okay if it doesn't resonate with everybody. If even one person watching might feel more seen or empowered or really feel anything positive at all, then I feel like it was totally worth it for me to come and share all this personal stuff with you today. And the same thing's true for all of us in our quartets and choruses. Not everyone will love everything we do. They won't like the songs we sing. They won't like the video of us at contest. But if we're being ourselves and being kind and sincerely trying our best, that's more than enough. Being ourselves is more than enough. If even one person's life is changed for the better by something you've said or done, that is huge. Each human life that we touch by being ourselves matters a lot, because the one human life that you touch will touch another, and before you know it, that one impact has created a ripple effect that now has made the whole world a little better. But you cannot create that ripple effect if you're too worried about what people are going to think about you, if you put yourself out there. If you've spent any time on social media lately, in any barbershop chat group, then you know very well that there is no shortage of armchair quarterbacks sitting behind a computer just waiting to offer unsolicited criticism of anything they see. And there will always be barbershoppers on the sidelines waiting to point out flaws in other singers, to create drama and division, to sprinkle cynicism on every situation. But the difference between those people and you is that while they're sitting home behind a keyboard, you're busy trying to learn and grow and make a positive impact on the world through the art form that you love. I'm sure many of you have heard this quote by Teddy Roosevelt, but it's one of my all-time favorites, and it's always worth sharing. Teddy Roosevelt said, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at his worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." You are here. You are engaged and involved. You are in the arena. You are the people who, as Teddy Roosevelt said, are daring greatly. I would love nothing more than to see every internet critic step up and take all that displeasure they express online and channel it into real, tangible action that would add value to our world or to this organization. But until that happens, we all have to lead by example and show people how it's done. Become so busy being kind and encouraging and awesome that you don't have time to worry about what other people think. So for now, let's all find barbershop projects that we're excited about. Find the things that give you that spark and make you come alive and lean in. Focus on being yourself and release the judgment from other people. Work hard, do your best, create spaces where other people can do the same. Who you are will not resonate with everyone, and that's okay, because for one person, it could make all the difference. My next guiding principle is to learn to be comfortable with uncertainty. Learn to embrace the mystery of not knowing exactly what will happen next. Humans naturally resist change. We hate it. It's a survival instinct. We prefer the safety and security of what we already know. We become comfortable with our routines, how we get to work every day, our favorite kind of cocktail, the group of friends we like to spend time with. We like to know what to expect, and changes to our routines cause frustration, anxiety, and fear. And I'm sure we've all experienced that firsthand this year. But whether we like it or not, we do live in a time of tremendous change. A global pandemic has transformed life as we know it. And here in the United States, we're also experiencing political upheaval and trying to reckon with our country's racist past in new and challenging and sometimes painful ways. When we're confronted with these great changes, we can either expend all of our energy resisting and pushing back and saying, no, I refuse, or we can try to accept what is and adjust our sails and hope that the journey can lead us somewhere better than where we started. In an organization like ours with such a long and rich history, it might seem to some people like embracing new ideas or change means we're not valuing or respecting our past and where we're coming from, or that the past didn't matter. But when it comes to barbershop, exactly the opposite is true. It is precisely because we cherish our past and value this organization's history that we absolutely must embrace change and ensure that the barbershop art form will live on and thrive after we're all gone for generations to come. I don't know what the Barbershop Harmony Society will look like in 10 years. No one does. But for now, I'm ready to try new things and fail quickly, then learn from what worked and what didn't, and pivot and try something else. Let's be religious in our values, but flexible in our tactics. Together, we can embrace the mystery of not knowing exactly what will happen next. Your example will show others how to remain strong and optimistic in the face of great change, which leads me right into my next suggestion, which is that we cherish the past, but make the most of the opportunities happening right now and keep our eye on the future. I recently saw a video on social media of a young new quartet. They are super talented, and the video was awesome, like so awesome that I immediately watched it 5 times in a row and then shared it with as many people as I could. And they were singing and playing instruments for freshman style. It was a For Freshmen's cover, but with all the tight, close harmonies that we as barbershoppers love, right? Their enthusiasm was palpable and electric and contagious, and it made me feel so hopeful about the future of barbershop, that these kids were into this music and making it at such a high level and like loving it so much. It warmed my cold, bitter, pandemic heart to see these kids. And they had shared their videos on one of these like unofficial barbershop chat groups on social media. And I was reading some of the comments, and one of the first comments that somebody wrote was something like, "That's not barbershop." And I guess because they were playing instruments in addition to singing, this person, an older, more experienced barbershopper, felt the need to stop their entire day and go out of their way to say something negative to these kids. In my opinion, this is not barbershop to me. As if any of us could ever own this style of music enough to have the right to dictate to a newcomer how they should enjoy it. A new barbershopper shouldn't have to care whether or not the music they want to sing or their style isn't exactly the same as it was the day that you or I first joined the society. New barbershoppers don't remember the good old days because to them, these are the good old days. Can you imagine anything more demoralizing to a new barbershopper than constantly hearing, yeah, well, you should have been here back when? New barbershoppers weren't here back when. They couldn't possibly have been, but they are here now. And whether or not they decide to stick around depends on us, on the welcoming culture we choose to create or not create, on the ways that we can make space for them to express themselves however they want. To a new barbershopper, these are the good old days, and it's our job to not only let them enjoy that, but to celebrate with them and to add to their enthusiasm, not to diminish it by letting them think that they've missed something by arriving here too late. Do you know what happens when a caterpillar becomes a butterfly? Because I'll tell you, it's disgusting. It's not pretty inside a cocoon. Like, I think it's cute that we think of a little caterpillar crawls inside and comes out a beautiful butterfly and flies away, and that's it. But actually, it's disgusting and it's gross inside the cocoon. The caterpillar makes a cocoon and then literally melts down into goo. Every single cell breaks down into a soupy liquid, and the caterpillar is now no longer recognizable as a caterpillar, its former self, but still nowhere near resembling a butterfly. And from a state of plasma, it rebuilds itself completely into something different. And only then does it emerge, changed for the better. And that's kind of like us. We are going through this big transformation right now. How does the caterpillar survive that transition from goo to gorgeous? First, it eats itself, but then it nurtures itself. It gives itself plenty of time. It doesn't rush itself. It doesn't bemoan the transformation process. It doesn't lament about how much better life was back when it was still a caterpillar. It doesn't chide itself for not transforming quickly enough. It just keeps going, one day at a time, totally at ease, trusting in the knowledge that it is becoming something better. And like magic, 50 wing cells become 50,000 wing cells, and over time, a butterfly emerges. But that doesn't mean that it ever forgets its past, not at all. It never forgets, and studies show that butterflies have memories from their time as caterpillars that they carry for the rest of their life. As members of the Barbershop Harmony Society, we will always carry our history with us. We can cherish every step that led us here, even as we continue to evolve and change. The two are not mutually exclusive. So be like the caterpillar. Trust the process. Trust that the journey is leading us somewhere better. We should absolutely get new members excited about the things we love from the past, but not at the expense of letting them enjoy what's going on now. They've come here at exactly the right time, and our job is to make sure that they know it. If you think that the best days of barbershop are behind us, then you're not paying close enough attention. Look around, there's so much talent and innovation in this organization. So let's always cherish our past, but that doesn't mean we have to set up camp and live there forever. My next guiding principle is that you always keep working on you. Our organization will thrive when we all commit to becoming lifelong learners. Every little bit of work that you do to improve yourself has a ripple effect, and those benefits extend to everyone around you. Each new piece of information you acquire is another tool. It's one more tidbit you can take back to your quartet or chorus or chapter or district, which in turn will lift them up just by being associated with you. Every time you do something that raises your own consciousness, you automatically raise the collective consciousness of everyone in our barbershop world. In 2018, I decided I wanted to become a certified yoga instructor. And when I signed up for the training, I had no idea what I would do with it. I wasn't planning on opening a yoga studio. I didn't really want to be a yoga teacher full time. I just did it because I felt called to do it. And I spent this year studying and learning and growing. And sure enough, that excitement, enthusiasm, and the things that I learned impacted everyone in my life. My husband started practicing yoga, and then a close friend and another friend and a family member. And I began using the principles I learned from yoga to help run physical warm-ups in my chorus. And I've even created a Harmony University course about how to incorporate yoga principles into physical warm-ups for barbershoppers. So you never know how much of an impact you might have on other people by learning new skills and trying to improve yourself. So keep growing, take a new class, learn a new skill, attend the workshop, attend Virtual Harmony University. Decide right now that you will be a forever learner and keep filling your brain with as much new knowledge as you can. And watch as everyone in this organization benefits from your personal development right along with you. My next guiding principle is that you may be the first to do many things, but please make sure you're not the last. You might be the first person to serve on your chapter or district's board who looks like you, or loves like you, or shares your faith. And that's amazing because you're being brave and you should feel proud. But then ask yourself, now that I'm here, how will I lower the ladder down and help someone else climb up? There are so many ways in this organization that we can lower that ladder down and help other people. Maybe we're in a position to offer free coaching to a quartet who really needs that right now, or to give someone a ride to rehearsal when we're all back together again. Maybe you're financially able to help someone pay their chapter dues or share a hotel room at contest. How will you use what you have to pave the way now for someone else? I remember the day I was elected to serve on the Society's board of directors, and I was sort of in disbelief because I did not think they would elect a woman, and a lot of thoughts were going through my head, but I do remember thinking, holy expletive, I am going to be the first woman to do this. And then one of my next thoughts was, and I wonder who the next woman will be, and what can I do during my time on the board to make sure it's possible for her to get here if she wants to. So let's keep asking ourselves, even if I'm the first to do something, how can I make sure I won't be the last? And finally, my last piece of advice is simple, but it's probably the most important thing that I'll say today, is to please, 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 we must flood the Barbershop Harmony Society with kindness. The world is full of unkindness. It's everywhere. It's overwhelming. People don't need any more of it. They come to us, to the barbershop community, for a respite from the hatred and divisiveness of the outside world. They come here to sing and to feel welcome and to enjoy the company of other people. And when the world opens up again, our organization is perfectly situated to be a haven for people who are in desperate need of deep human connection. It's what we do best. So please be kind. Be kind to yourself and to one another. Be genuinely curious about other barbershoppers. We still have such a long way to go to make BHS truly inclusive, and we won't get there unless we operate from a space of love for one another. I know that we all have strong opinions about barbershop, about politics, about which quartet we like and don't like, even about our organization itself and how it's operating. Like I said at the beginning, barbershoppers are passionate people, and I love that about us. But if we can't find a way to disagree without disrespecting one another, we are really in trouble. If we want to make music together, we have to learn how to share big feelings with one another without letting it tear us apart. If you're looking online and you see a conversation happening and you think, gosh, I just have to get in and comment on that, I want to tell you today, you don't. You don't have to comment. You can just keep on scrolling and add something positive to the world instead. If a new barbershopper saw the way that we talk to each other online today, do you think they would want to stick around? Do we come across as a warm and welcoming community to new people who will want to join? I hope that the answer is yes, but it's something we should always keep thinking about. Let's let our online presence reflect the love that we have for each other and for this art form. And even if you have been divisive or hurtful to fellow barbershoppers in the way you've expressed yourself in the past, it is never too late to stop and say, this isn't who I want to be. This behavior doesn't align with my values and with the values of my organization. When someone who has never heard of barbershop finds us and sees the way we interact and treat one another and says, now this is a community I want to be part of, then we'll know we're on the right track. Please remember that everyone you encounter is going through things you know nothing about, especially now. And if we're kind to one another, we can navigate any change that comes our way. Please flood the society with kindness so that others will be inspired to do the same. I hope that our time together today may have stoked a flame of passion in you. I encourage you to ask yourself, how will I use my unique flame to ignite 1,000 fires in this organization? How will I let my unique light radiate out into the world in a way that illuminates the lives of everyone I interact with? How will this big, beautiful barbershop family be better because I am in it? If you leave here with nothing else today, please know this: it is not a coincidence that you are watching this today. It's not a mistake that you are here as a member in this organization during the era of Everyone in Harmony. You have a set of skills and attributes that no one else on earth possesses. You will add a unique value to this organization in a way that no other person possibly could. Because of you, more lives could be changed by Barbershop than ever before. You don't need to make yourself smaller in order to fit in here in the Barbershop Harmony Society. Please be the full spectrum of whoever you are and let this organization expand and grow to make room for you. You are here for a reason. Pablo Picasso said that the meaning of life is to find your gift and the purpose of life is to give it away. If you have not uncovered your unique gift yet, my sincere wish for you is that you'll keep exploring until you find it. And once you do find it, I pray that you will spend the rest of your life giving it away. Thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for listening. I am Blair Brown, and I am so proud to be a member of the Barbershop Harmony Society. And I can't wait to see all the amazing things that we'll do together. Thank you.